July 30th, we are in the final few evenings of the G1 CLIMAX 33. So therefore, we are in the final few recap and reviews by your boy, MrWarrenHayes, right here on the MrWarrenHayes Show. Whether you're watching these on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or listening on your favorite podcast application, thank you very much for letting me entertain you to a degree, but mostly inform you of what's going on in the G1 and giving you my own little perspective and analysis of what's going on. So, likes, subscribes, reviews, ratings, all that stuff. If you just take a minute just to do, you move your finger, your thumb, or your mouse thing, and you cursor, I think is what they call it, right? We've only been using that term for like 30 years at this point. You can, whatever you can do to show a little support is fantastic, but we're going to get into tonight's show, night 10, C block and D block, on the attack here. And straight off the bat, it's a completely skippable show. And this is one of these shows where I was sitting here and waiting for something exciting to happen. I was ready for stuff to pick up. I was truly looking forward to a good night of G1 action. But instead, you got something that was very, very mid, in some circumstances, low effort, and a bit of a doldrum, not gonna lie. Something a little average, a little ordinary, which is a little contrasted to night 9 with A block and B block, where it felt like everyone was scrambling for their points, where everyone was like, look, we realize that these are the last throws and we just got to go, 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 go. But I felt like I didn't have that sense of urgency, I guess, or of facing elimination in the case of some. It just felt like matches happening, and it's been uncharacteristic of this G1. There have been a couple of bad nights, and I feel like Block C and D have been responsible for most of these off nights. Maybe, and it's an impression at this point. I don't think I'm entirely off, but if I look at my top ratings, my top scores so far in the as far as the matches I prefer, who performed best, who was involved in the matches I preferred, it's all A and B guys. I'm not saying this, C and D were terrible. I'm just saying that I feel like we come around to C and D oftentimes being the blocks, being the nights where it's like, well, it's not that great. So we'll see what happens. FYI, my allergies are so bad today. Like in a ridiculously bad way. For some reason, of course, I am completely hopped up on antihistamines, don't worry. But holy smut, like if my cadence is a little more off than usual, if I don't know, if you're seeing weird symptoms, don't worry. It's not the we're not continuing the long-term story of the oncoming stroke. It's a whole, it's all going up in here in this environment. So I apologize in advance, if I sound gross today. But let's get started with results. That's how we always like to kick it off. Block C, we had David Finlay defeat HENARE. We had Eddie Kingston defeat Mikey Nicholls. Evil defeated Tomohiro Ishii. Was that? Yes, that is still C block. And Shingo, Takagi, and Tonga went to a time limit draw. As far as block D goes, we had Toru Yano defeating Jeff Cobb. Tetsuya Naito defeating Alex Coughlin. Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shane Haste. And Hiroshi Tanahashi got the best of Hirooki Goto in the main event. I don't know exactly how much there is to break down, because I feel like this is going to be a redundant review here, because everything, look, the card starts off with Finlay versus HENARE, and HENARE lands a jumping knee at the end and the rampage, but Finlay gets into oblivion a bit out of nowhere to get the win. And it was kind of a low effort and match, and nothing there, really. There was nothing really to this match. Kind of running through motions. Not awful, but nothing really great. And I think that this is the theme of everything that we're going to be talking about today. So I don't know how insightful this is going to be. Maybe I can, outside of sprinkling some things like, I think David Finlay right now is having a very mid G1 for a guy who is being positioned as a top guy and who has this gimmick, this idea of him being a killer. I think his matches are overall fine, but I think, in the long run, when we look back at this will not have been this will not have been Dave Finlay's greatest hour. Like right now, I do my little match ratings. I do match ratings, but for myself. I don't necessarily put that out there. It's just to help me keep track of things and, remember, good matches and stuff like that, recommendations. Right now, out of 5, David Finlay is rated at 2.79 on my personal ratings. That's not good. That's very average, actually. Very, very average. And for a guy that they're boosting up, that's supposed to become a big thing, I don't know. It's been very average. Then the next C block match was Mikey Nicholls versus Eddie Kingston. I had high hopes for this one, seeing how good Nicholls has been in this kick-ass environment. And there were, a couple of moments of spark, a couple of moments of ooh. When Mikey Nicholls slaps Eddie across the face early on in the match, and I'm like, okay, this is how you get Eddie fired up. Because again, like I've said multiple times, Eddie will fire up. Eddie needs a fired up opponent to get himself fired up. That's you. He's very emphatic in that way. We get a stalling suplex by Mikey Nicholls. Swinging Fisherman's neck breaker by Eddie Kingston, Spinebuster by Nicholls, and a bunch of, we get an exploder, a Saito, and half suplex by Eddie Kingston, and he wins with the back fist. And again, another competent match. I liked it a little more than the opener. It feels like we're just doing wrestling, It feels like I'm, because this was the third match. We'll talk about, D block later, but this was the third match, and already I'm like, I feel like we're just doing wrestling. Like if you were to show professional wrestling to someone, just in a dry environment, we're just like, here, we'll have these two people show you what pro wrestling is. This is what it is. Nothing wrong with this in and about itself, but we're on a very flat level, and we're just 3 matches in so far. Tomohiro Ishii and Evil went at it. Of course, Evil won here. This is probably my favorite Evil match of the tournament, because look, not that it wasn't devoid of shenanigans, but there were long stretches where Evil just had to fight. He had to be, he had to dig deep back into his non-House of Torture days and fight and put up resistance here to Ishii, where they were clobbering each other. So I enjoyed that, but there really wasn't enough of it. Because, Dick Togo gets involved. We get the ref bumps, Dick Togo and the garrote, and they do the magic killer. Ishii is doing everything he can to squeeze some juice out of this stone here. Some chops, a gamengiri. Then we get more shenanigans. Ishii punches Evil with a chair he's holding. So you think, there might be a reversal of fortune here, but they trade shots. Ishii lands everything is Evil in a sliding lariat. Of course, Evil kicks out of all of that. And we were building to a really fun finish. We really were. I thought the final stretch here is pretty much what made this match really remarkable. But Evil clutches the ref. Dick Togo runs in to kick Ishii in the no-nos. And this is followed by everything is evil for the win. Like, then it becomes your textbook evil match. So evil wins. He's at 8 points now. I mean, there was something here, but not enough to, get me excited, reset everything. When your first two matches are giving you a case of the doldrums, and then your third match in the block is Evil versus Tomohiro Ishii, you know you're not in a good spot right now. So wasn't terrible. There's been much worse Evil matches this G1, but again, like when the bar is in the dirt, so on and so forth. And then Shingo and Tama went time. Listen, skipping over any actual breakdown of the match here, because look, I feel these guys had a hard time filling 20 minutes. I feel like they had a challenge to stretch this out to 20. It didn't grip you. It didn't keep you interested, didn't get you invested. I think the final stretch kept you interested. Like we're talking about the last 2 to 3 minutes when, the timekeeper is on the house mic and he's going, 3 minutes left, 3 minutes left. And you're like, oh shit, okay, here we go. And that gets the crowd jazzed up. It gets the guys jazzed up. But again, competent pro wrestling. Nothing bad about it, but no spark, no feeling, no big drama, nothing that will make you, go out and jump up into the streets and saying, I love pro wrestling, while tears stream down your face, tears of joy. Tama Tonga lands a death rider. The Shingo pop-up gun stun and the pumping bomber. They slug it out. Last of the Dragon connects, but Shingo was exhausted, and I don't know why he's exhausted. This match plodded. It wasn't anything. Anyway, we go to time on this one. Good work again, but unsatisfying. I'm telling you, it's very redundant. Very, very redundant, and that's the story for Block C. Now, if we're talking standings for Block C, well, we have 3 eliminations now. With the results that happened today, Mikey, Nicholls, HENARE, and Tomohiro Ishii are all mathematically eliminated from the tournament. Let's not forget there's 2 nights of G1 action left for each block. So that's it. I mean, Nicholls, HENARE, Ishii with Finlay and Evil all the way up there leading the block at 8 points. There's no way they're going to make it. So mathematically, all those 3 guys are out of the G1. So after Finlay and Evil, we have Tama Tonga at 7 points, Eddie Kingston at 6, and Shingo at 5. Now, there's still some scenarios here where Shingo could make it out. He could absolutely still be able to qualify, because right now in Block C, it's kind of hard to pinpoint who. Like, there's no one who's absolutely absolutely locked in for number 1 in the block. Like, both spots for the playoffs are still very much in play. Shingo was on the verge of elimination at 5 points, of course, because as you know, that if he were to qualify, he would need to win his next 2 matches, and Finlay, Evil, and Tama Tonga would have to lose their next 2. So, statistically, it's not on his side. But the thing is that Shingo, his last 2 matches are with the block leaders. So on August 2nd, he's wrestling Finlay, and on August 8th, he's wrestling Evil. So he could make sure that both those guys stay down. Like I said, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily a thing. But, look, Finlay still has a bit of a hill to climb to secure to secure 4 more points or 2 more wins. He's got Eddie Kingston on the 8, but before that, like I said, he has Shingo. So not an easy climb for him. It is possible to see to envision him not moving forward. But I think with the push that he has, with the Bullet Club stuff that he has, I think he is going forward. I think he is making the playoffs regardless. I don't think Shingo is. If Shingo loses against Finlay on August 2nd, his tournament's over. And as for Evil, well, he has Mikey Nicholls coming up next. So that could potentially be a win for Evil. And then on the final night, he's got Shingo. So you could also see, like, on the final night, because on the final night, Finlay, on the final night, I think the matches that will interest us the most here is Eddie Kingston versus David Finlay and Shingo Takagi versus Evil. So I think that, I can absolutely see Shingo defeating Finlay on August 2nd so that we go to August 8th and the field is still very open. Eddie might have a shot, Evil might have a shot, and Finlay might have a shot. And remember, we're not just looking for a winner, we're looking for the top 2. So it's spread out quite a bit here. I don't think anyone is completely out of it as well. And here we're talking about Shingo, but Tama Tonga's is very much in the conversation still. Tama's fighting Eddie Kingston on August 2nd, and that will be detrimental to either of their chances. That will be a very good indicator to their chances of advancing to the playoffs. And then we have Tama Tonga taking on HENARE on the final night, which leads me to believe that Tama will not be a factor and will probably not go to the playoffs, since HENARE is already eliminated and there's no drama in this match. I think the 4 most dramatic matches you have for night 8 are Eddie, Finlay, Takagi, Evil, and I think those 4 after August 2nd, night 12. I think after night 12, those are going to be the 4 matches that are going to be captivating our attention. This is going to be a nail biter till the very end, folks. Of course, don't forget, Finlay has wins over most everyone. His only loss, let me pull this up here. His only loss great audio going on here. Dave Finlay's only loss is against Evil. So, he has tiebreakers over a lot of the guys, but a lot of the guys who are not necessarily contenders anymore. He has a tiebreaker over Tama Tonga, which could prove to be detrimental, right? And if I'm not mistaken, Tama Tonga also has Evil also has the tiebreaker over Tama Tonga. So Tama Tonga is another guy who has to win his next 2 matches, if he even wants to dream about being in the semis, because the 2 block leaders right now hold tiebreakers over him. So he's in not a good spot, and I think that's going to end up hurting him. So yeah, Eddie, Finlay, Takagi, Evil, you're starting to see it. We're not done yet. Like I said, Shingo's on the verge of elimination, but I think he's going to stay active in the conversation until the very end. I don't know if he's moving forward, though. If you're a betting man, if you were a betting man, and I'm not, I say you go with Finlay and Kingston to move on to the playoffs. That would be my guess. That wraps it up for Block C today. And how about we go and chat about Block D now? Toru Yano and Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb lost to Toru Yano. Yano brought beer in the ring. Cobb has a sip and he does, I don't know. Yano wins with a roll up. What do you want from me? Like that, this is, the second match. The first one was, so-so. minute and 49 seconds was this match. You know, this is Yano's role moving forward. He's going to spoil it for people that he normally should not be spoiling anything for, right? But this is where we're at right now. And Jeff Cobb eats his first loss, which keeps him out of the dominant spot of the up at the top, which I guess was to be expected. Tetsuya Naito defeated Alex Coughlin. Lots of stalling to start on this one. But finally, mostly by Tetsuya Naito, who's screwing with Coughlin, who eventually does catch Naito in a sack of shit. Beats him up on the floor, gets a heat segment. Naito starts working the neck. Goes for a Destino. It's blocked. Black hole slam by Alex Coughlin, continuing to show strength, but a Destino gets the job done. Again, another fine match. Nothing to write home about, but where's the edge? What's keeping me wanting to watch this show? This is the fourth match on the card, and we're halfway in, and I'm like, you know, where's the excitement? Where is this G1 feeling? The guys are going through the motions at this point. You know, Coughlin absolutely needed this win to stay alive. I didn't feel like he needed to stay alive in this one. I felt like he already threw in the towel, and that's not what I want to see in my G1 action. Next D-Block match was Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shane Haste. The battle of the TMDK boys. They even fight over Ichiban Sweet Boy Fujita at first. Could say Fujita. But, you know, they slug it out and they go after each other. And, you know, Shane Haste, you know, he does the Zack Sabre Jr. playbook, tries to pick at him. And, you know, Tournament Zack, I find, has not been around as much. Yes, he's winning. But Tournament Zack has not shown up all that much throughout this tournament. And he's been letting himself get dominated quite a bit, excuse me. Because he can't get his submissions in. When he finally does, though, things start to reverse. Zack Sabre Jr. avoids a Bomb Valley Death, rolls through, and eventually locks in the Euro Clutch for the win. Look, again, a bit of a dry match. And I would have expected these guys to maybe, you know, add in a little more flavor, a little more sauce to this. They're stable mates, they're buddies. You know, some, you know, they probably have some chemistry, you know, working with each other. But look, solid work, had some moments, but no magic. Again, I'm sorry if my analysis, look, here I am apologizing that my analysis is very humdrum, but it's a reflection of what I watched. There's nothing to sink your teeth into. There's nothing to get excited in the main event of, you know, of the show. And the last match of the D block, Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating Hirooki Goto didn't do it either. In fact, continues down our road of, okay, well, thank you for all your years of service, Hiroshi Tanahashi, but now we're good. And again, like I spoke on this on the last G1 review, where I was saying that the one thing that I'm worried about in this match is Goto. Well, first of all, Hiroshi Tanahashi being in the state that he's in 2023, which is not fantastic. He's not doing great. His body is, he's struggling to, you know, to keep his body moving with him. You know, this is not the Tanahashi of old. He's moving on to something else now. You know, we've lost the ace of the universe, and that's okay. Like, this is to be expected. He's getting up there in age. His body is beaten down. It's been beaten down for years. Now it's catching up with him. It's just as simple as that. But when you see this kind of stuff, I don't want to say it's sad, but it kind of breaks your heart, and you're like, okay, I don't want to see one of the greatest of all times struggle through matches. Now, I don't want Hiroshi Tanahashi to become a 2021, 2022 Kaiji Muto, where one of the greatest to ever do it, but becomes a sad shell of himself because he can't do it. So I don't want that out of him. And maybe that's why we're going a little hard when I say we, because, you know, there's a few of us talking about this. maybe this is one of the reasons we're going a little hard on him, is because we don't want Tanahashi to wrestle as a shell of himself. We want him to wrap up his legacy on a high note. And this G1 is not helping. And so that was one part of it. And the other part that had me worried about this main event was Hirooki Goto and his rib injury. We weren't sure that if it's a shoot or not. We're not sure if he's really injured or not. But, you know, it's been a factor in the tournament. They've been telling the story, and it was a factor here as well. And it, you know, we ended up having a main event that was representative of most of the show. Effort was there, but it didn't turn into anything. It didn't click, didn't connect. And I actually thought this wasn't very good. I thought this was a bare minimum average match out of these two guys. Injuries factored in, probably. It was smartly put together, I thought. But man, look, there was no way to hide. And again, this is something we talked about earlier when we were doing the G1s here. The early matches in the G1 were I don't want to say designed, but were put together in a way to hide Tanahashi's physical limitations. Now, you know, he's in the main event with Hirooki Goto, longtime rival on top of that. There's no hiding here. And Goto is supposed to be ailing, whether it's shoot or not. It's part of the story. So a lot got exposed here again, and it just, look, nothing connected on this card. Nothing worked. You know, it was just a sad state of affairs. Just a sad state of affairs. Block D, after tonight, on night 10, Jeff Cobb and Zack Sabre Jr. tied for the top at 8. Tetsuya Naito and Hiroshi Tanahashi at 6. Hirooki Goto and Shane Haste at 4. Alex Coughlin is officially eliminated. Mathematically cannot keep up. And Toru Yano, well, we had eliminated him a couple of nights ago. So that's the state of the block right now. So not unlike C block, like there's only A block right now that has one person confirmed for the playoffs, one person who's qualified, and that's Sonata. Sonata mathematically is in. So, you know, as far as, you know, D block goes, it's the same story as C block. Lots of people that can angle for either the two top spots. There's still lots of openings here. Now, you know, let's talk about the leaders to begin with. If we talk about Jeff Cobb on his final nights, he has Hirooki Goto left and Shane Haste. So Hirooki Goto on night 12 on August 2nd, and then Shane Haste to wrap it up as well. So the fact that he's fighting Shane Haste on the final night leads me to believe that he will not be a factor. Now, Shane Haste is not eliminated either. He could win against Cobb, and he could also win against, let me see here, who is Haste fighting on the last night? Yeah, look, he's fighting Toru Yano. So Shane Haste could make a play for 8 points, but he's lost a lot of matches to the block leaders right now. So, you know, a lot of them have tiebreakers over him. So I don't think he's going to be that much of a factor regardless, but he could, you could see Shane Haste coming up from beneath and scoring 2 more wins, finishing the block at 8, and Jeff Cobb slipping. You know, he lost against Yano, and his like I said, his opponent on night 12 is Hirooki Goto, which is also someone that you could absolutely see him lose to. So these are all possibilities, right? I'm not saying that these, you know, that possibilities, right? Zack, as far as Zack Sabre Jr. goes, on the let me see here. See, he's got Naito on night 12, and he's got Hirooki Goto on night 16. Now, I think the rest of for the final 2 nights, it is Tetsuya Naito mounting the comeback to qualify for the playoffs. I think he might even win the block. I think he's even going to win the block here. So, and Zack just might end up being just might end up being in the playoffs as well. You know, I think safe money is Naito and Sabre in the playoffs at this point, with Naito being the guy on top, getting the big win over Zack on night 12 to ensure he has the tiebreaker, to make sure he is firmly placed at number 1. And then you can have Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Hirooki Goto. And just for the drama of the situation, Hirooki Goto will probably, the more I'm thinking about it, will probably beat Jeff Cobb on night 12 to just give a little drama to this. He'll be up to 6 points. Jeff Cobb will still be at 8. So Hirooki Goto going into the final night of block action with a chance to qualify will have to beat Zack Sabre Jr., but will come up short. Because there'll probably be a scenario. This is probably a likely scenario. I'd have to dive really deeper into this, but Hirooki Goto, maybe if he were to defeat Zack Sabre Jr. on night 16, he would have the tiebreaker and probably move on to the playoffs. But, you know, with the injury angle they're running, so on and so forth, I don't really see it. So I don't think this is happening. I think the story here moving forward for the next 2 nights of block action is Tetsuya Naito winning his final matches, coming up, doing the big comeback. Like I said, night 12 against Zack Sabre Jr. I think he beats him. Adds a little danger to Zack Sabre Jr. Naito's at 8. And then on the final night, Naito is fighting Hiroshi Tanahashi. This is not a mistake. This is also by design. You know, they're probably going to keep Tanahashi in the conversation too. That's also very much a possibility. Tanahashi where is it? Oh, there we go. On night 12 is fighting Alex Coughlin. So, like, this might be a 4-man, 8-point race to the very end. A nail biter, right? So, you know, Tanahashi, Naito, that feels like it's a significant match for points, for positioning. Hirooki Goto and Zack Sabre Jr. as well. Jeff Cobb and Shane Haste doesn't. And Toru Yano versus Alex Coughlin, well, these dudes are eliminated. They're already done. So I think, not unlike Block C, Block D is going to be a big schmaz at the end. 8 points, guys with 8 points, maybe one guy with 10, but mostly guys with 8 points, slugging it out, trying to qualify. And I think safe money at this point is Naito and Zack Sabre Jr. to move on to the playoffs. And Hiroshi Tanahashi, next G1, they have to announce it. They have to build it, play it off as Hiroshi Tanahashi's last G1 and give him his last great hurrah. Look, he spent 7 to 8 minutes in the ring. I don't know. A very long time in the ring after winning, doing the air guitar shtick for the audience, because he knows these main event promos for him these main event win promos are going to be few and far between moving forward. So it was like, might as well give the crowd what they want. Let's give them a bit of the old Tana, the old air guitar, the smash the guitar, the throwing the air guitar into the audience, all, you know, the whole shtick that the audience loves. Just don't get me wrong. I'm not bitching about it. People love it. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's what you do next year. It's Tanahashi's last big run. You make it real dramatic. Give him a last real shot. Comes up a little short. Anyway, that's Block D. Recommendations, I have none. Completely skippable night of the G1 Climax. So we will immediately look forward. We'll start looking forward here to Night 11 on August 1st. So we'll be back in 2 days from now. A, B block once again, starting off with Hikuleo versus Kaito Kiyomiya. I am of the opinion that they've been giving Hikuleo a couple of big wins to not make him look like a complete schlub. So when Kaito comes in, there's a little more zest to this match. You know, I mean, it's still Hikuleo, but Goto doesn't book these things, doesn't book these sudden bursts of wins for nothing. I think this is to give the audience the impression that Kiyomiya has a little bit more of a mountain to overcome. Hikuleo's coming in with momentum. He's bigger, stronger. He's so tall. Hikuleo is so tall. But I think Kiyomiya is going to win this one. Then Ren Narita versus Chase Owens. Look, Ren Narita has to pick up a win here. And especially if we're, because otherwise his tournament is done. And there's a big schmaz in Block A. We're talking about schmazes in Block C and D. It's even bigger in Block A with all the draws and whatnot. That's second, and it's a big fight for the second spot, for runner-up. Sonata versus Gabe Kidd. Sonata should be able to pull this one off here. Again, look, Gabe Kidd also at the same time has been having a little bit of a push. I think this is, again, to be established as not as much of a pushover for Sonata. But, this tournament's been very unpredictable. Could we see Gabe Kidd score a pin here and then Gabe Kidd be the guy who gets a title shot moving forward? It feels a little underwhelming the more I talk about it. Maybe not a good idea. And the last of the A block matches will be Shota Umino versus Yota Tsuji. That's one I'm looking forward to. I don't even want to predict what the result might be. I don't even know what to tell you at this point. This whole Reiwa Three Musketeers stuff has been nuts. Yota Tsuji has 3 points right now. Shota has 6. Does Yota get the best out of Shota just to get things into? Look, if Shota loses, therefore Tsuji wins, and Ren Narita wins, they're all still in the same vicinity. Shota will have 6 points. Yota will have 5, and Narita will have 4, which would still not knock anyone out really of contention, I don't think, unless Kiyomiya wins. But look, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're just previewing the upcoming matches here. We're not doing deep dive analysis here. B block has Yoshihashi versus Great Okan. All right. This is a match. This is a match for Yoshihashi. Very important one to stay alive. Taichi versus El Phantasmo. Critical match for both men. Critical match for El Phantasmo, come to think of it. Because Taichi already has 6 points. Okada just has 8 at this point. Will Ospreay has 6. Phantasmo needs the win if he's to stay in the conversation. Otherwise, he's eliminated. So this is going to be a critical match for El Phantasmo. Tonga Loa versus Will Ospreay. I think Will picks up another 2 here. And then in the main event, Kazuchika Okada versus Kenta. Oh boy. Look, this is probably one that Kenta's going to put his working boots on for, right? This is going to be one of the 2 matches this year. The one with Ospreay and the one with Okada. Well, he has to, right? I say he has to, but he doesn't have to. It's the main event. Look. Hopefully, Okada will be able to drag one out of him. Let's put it that way. There you have it, folks. It's the wrap up for night 10. Now, we'll be back, as I said, on August 1st for night 11 and night 12 the day after on August 2nd. And then those are the 2 last nights of combined block action. After that, nights 5, 6, 8, and 9 will be for one block each. Block A, B, C, and D respectively. So we're getting into the nitty gritty. And then every night we'll have its own block action. And then August 10 will be August 10 and 12 will be the playoffs, with the finals being on the 13th. So we're we're getting into the final stretch here. We're heading home, folks. Hope you guys and gals and non-binary pals are excited for the rest of the G1. Look, don't let this night fool you. This has been a very good G1 so far. I'm stoked for what's to come. Lots of great stuff looking for us coming ahead. Hopefully you'll be able to join me in 2 days for a review of 9/11. If not, well, it's all right. I'll just see you next time.